I love pens.
Hey there! Today we're going to talk about a fountain pen, and that pen is the Lamy AL-Star. What I'll do is I'll go over the parts of the pen, tell you what I like and what I don't like about the pen, and then I will do a writing sample. And no, I'm not going to keep that up through this whole video. That would be exhausting and probably super obnoxious. I'm not good at impressions of anybody. But I thought that would be fun for some reason. I don't know, I've had it in my head for a while that would be fun. Partly because SBREBrown is the man. If you haven't seen his channel and you somehow found mine instead, I have no idea how that would happen. Then you need to go look at his channel, and once you do, you'll probably never come back to mine. Anyway, he's been around the fountain pen community for a long time and been doing reviews for a long time. And I watched his reviews when I was trying to figure out what pen to buy for the first time back in late 2015. So yeah, he's just kind of an icon. So it makes sense to kind of do a little mini parody of an icon, I guess. Also, I had a viewer a while ago comment and say, "Oh my gosh, you are the long lost estranged brother of SBREBrown." And I was like, I don't really see it, but thanks. I think it's just the glasses and maybe the high forehead and I don't know, maybe the scruff I occasionally have going on. I actually just shaved today for the first time in who knows how long. Anyway, let's get on to the Lamy AL-Star here. And what we're gonna do, for real is what we're gonna do, I am gonna tell you about the parts and features of this pen, but I'm also gonna talk about the Lamy Safari because it just makes sense to do kind of a comparison and contrast kind of thing. Because these pens are very similar, but they are also kind of different. And they're different in some ways that really surprised me when I got the AL-Star. People say this is the metal version of the Safari, and I don't think that really does this pen credit. There are some interesting things going on here that are different from this. So this will mostly be a review of the AL-Star, but we'll talk about the Safari as well. And I'm actually not going to do a writing sample. For some reason, it just didn't feel necessary for this video. And also this video is going to end up being kind of long already. So I decided to skip that this time. But anyway, let's flip the camera and we'll get right into it. Okay, here we go. So, whoa, that's a lot of Lamy pens. Which one is the Lamy AL-Star? Do you know? Probably pretty obvious. It's this one. The rest of these have got some Safaris and a couple of Vistas. So I thought I'd bring these along for the ride so I can show you a comparison of these pens. So a lot of people, like I said, refer to the AL-Star as the metal Safari or the metal version of the Safari. At least that's what I've heard. It's pretty obvious why they would think that. So this is the Lamy AL-Star in the petrol edition. This is the Lamy Safari in the petrol edition. Different colors, different materials, but pretty much the same design, right? Well, I'm actually really surprised at how different these pens are. It reminds me of, and I'm not much of a car person, but sometimes you'll have like a lower end car that looks kind of like a higher end car in the same, from the same brand. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on here. Like, this is just a random example, but like if you look at a Dodge Dart, it shares a lot of the same design features as a Dodge Charger, even though under the hood they're completely different. Anyway, so I feel like that's what's going on here. Here, let's just move these. We'll focus on these two. So similar features as far as the aesthetic, but I think that some interesting things are very different under the hood. So that's what we're really gonna hone in on today. And I'm not necessarily saying that one of these is better than the other. There are a lot of people that are Team Safari and there are a lot of people that are Team AL-Star. Overall, I think the Safari is a more popular pen, but it's also a cheaper pen. So it's maybe a little more enticing to the beginner, so that might be why it's more popular. And just for funsies, let's pull out the violet edition of the Safari. Change things up a bit. All right, so let's talk about what's similar or the same first, then we'll talk about the differences. And some of the differences are pretty doggone striking. There were some that really surprised me when I got my All-Star a few months back. I've had Safaris and Vistas for a while, but this is a relatively new pen for me, and there's some things that really surprised me. So I'll save those best parts for the end. All right, so similarities, and I'll try to run through these quickly here. So, same nib, no difference there. You might, if you have one of these or the other, and you get the other one in the same nib size, you might be like, hey, wait a second, these don't feel the same. There seems to be some variability in the nibs from pen to pen, but that's not a difference in model, that's just a difference in individual nibs. It's my understanding that these nibs are hand polished to some extent, so that might account for some of that variability. The grip section is the same, exact same. The only difference is that the Safari's is opaque and matches the color of the rest of the pen, and the All-Stars is a smoky, transparent grip section. And most editions have this smoky grip section. There's only one that I can think of that's different than this. But for the most part, this is what they look like. They have the same clip. I know that they're a different color, but that's just an addition thing. That's not really a design thing. All of my Safari clips are either black or, in this case, purple. So maybe a better example is this Vista here. Exact same clip. So depending on the edition you get of the Safari, you may get a plain steel colored clip or a black one or a different color. Similar ink window. We'll talk more about that in a second. Same finial. And same, I only have it in one pen right now, this one. But same converter, no difference there. Also, one thing that's the same is you have to buy them separately. So regardless of which pen you get. Those are the similarities. Again, very similar look, but again, there are differences. Let's talk about those. And if you're finding value in this video or this channel in general, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button and maybe even consider subscribing, that just helps my channel to grow and reach more people. I really appreciate your support. Okay, again, let's talk about the differences. So we talked about the grip sections, how they're the same, just different color. Okay, this is an interesting difference. The center band on these pens is different. You'll notice, let's see. You'll notice here that the Safari's is fairly flush with the rest of the pen. The All-Stars protrudes a little bit. It's kind of a little bump there. So it's different. And let me show you more. It goes beyond that. So this little center band, you can actually pop it out. There it is. And what's fun about that, if you really want to, you can swap these between pens to like give your pen a different accent. Let's see if I can get it back on now. Oh boy. There we go. All right. Okay, so there's that one. This one, you notice it's a little different. Instead of being attached here, it's attached here. And it does not come off. It is fixed in there. So the body is aluminum. That's an obvious difference. I don't even know if I wrote that down. Yes, I did. Yeah, so aluminum over here, plastic over here. Because of that, Lamy was smart, and instead of putting metal aluminum threads on plastic threads, it is plastic on plastic threads. So hopefully you can see that in there. So this band is actually an insert that goes into the pen and is glued in place. So that is permanent, that does not come out. So it's insignificant, doesn't change the performance of the pen, but it's a difference. So, okay, let's go back to the material for a second here. Again, the All-Star is aluminum, the Safari is plastic, but there are some different characteristics or personality traits that these different materials give the two pens. So some people don't like metal pens because they feel cold to the touch generally. Whereas plastic, not so much. That bothers some people with metal pens. They feel cold or whatever. This isn't like some big, thick, hunky piece of steel or anything that would really feel cold in your hand probably. This, I don't know. I don't notice it at all with this. But that's something that might bug some people. As well as feeling cooler, I think it just looks cooler. The aluminum, it glows, you know, there's like this luster to it that's really interesting. This is a matte plastic finish. Let's look at a gloss. I only have the white, which is not the best comparison, but it works though. But yeah, there's just this, there's a radiance to the aluminum and the way that it's been anodized that the plastic doesn't have. The plastic doesn't look bad. I think it looks good. It's just, the All-Star is a dressier pen, in my opinion. Now, the material also affects the durability of these two pens. It might be a little surprising to some people, but the Safari is probably going to be the more durable pen, from what I've heard at least. The aluminum of the All-Star is very thin. It actually surprised me when I got it, just how light it is. It's a little heavier, maybe, than the Safari. Yeah, slightly, but it's a very thin aluminum. It's not like some of those hand-machined aluminum pens out there that are, you know, pricey and thick and beefy. This is pretty lightweight, and so it means that it is prone to denting if you are rough with it, as well as scratching. Plastic obviously can get scratched, but it's just not going to be very noticeable. But if you scratch this, it might be noticeable because you may wear off some of that anodization that gives it its color. So you might have kind of a more raw aluminum look start to peek out if you get it scratched. That said, I really haven't had any problems durability-wise between the two pens. I did have, let's see, this pen and this pen. Their caps they stopped clicking closed. They were like super loose, and I was like, what is going on? I was able to fix it. If that's something you're interested in seeing, let me know in the comments. I can make a video about that if that would be helpful. I don't know if it's widespread. I haven't heard about anybody else having that problem, but if it is a widespread problem, I think I can help you fix it. Okay, a couple other things with the material here. You've got just like a plain back of the barrel on the Safari that matches the rest of it. On the All-Star, there is a black plastic plug, and I kind of like that because it means that there's black on the bottom and black on the top, and it just kind of gives it an added bit of uniformity that I think is nice. Another thing that is very different and that I like about the All-Star is just the smoothness of the finish. So on the Safari and a lot of lower end pens, you're just gonna have some sharp edges, some mold lines, different things like that. With the Safari, it's pretty minimal. It's not a big deal, but it's still going to be there. But this, the metal is just really well finished, and it's very smooth. There's nothing sharp. There's no mold lines, you know, nothing like that. So, so that's nice. Okay, a couple more small differences and then we'll get to the big ones. So one thing that's kind of interesting is the ink window here. I don't know, it's kind of got an edge to it, I guess. Not a sharp edge, but just it's kind of a line that goes around the top of it. The All-Star's ink window doesn't have that. It's, well, kind of, I guess, but it's a little more smoothed out. I don't know if you can see that difference there. But it's just a smoother, sleeker look to it. I think they both look fine, but they're just different. The logos are also different. So here it's, I don't know if engraved is the right word. It's not really engraved, it's just part of the mold, but the lettering here is indented throughout each letter of the logo. But here it's only the outline of the lettering that is indented. So this is smoother, this is rougher. Not rough really, but just it's just a difference in style, in design. So just another thing that sets these pens apart. Another difference that's so slight I almost forgot to mention it is you'll see here there's like this groove all the way around the cap where the clip comes out, and you don't have that here. It's just a plain, clean surface that's uninterrupted by something like that. Okay, let's talk about the big differences, the things that surprised me when I got this pen and I was like, whoa, that is really different than the Safari. One of these is a good difference. One of them is a bad difference, for the All-Star at least. And one of them is just kind of neutral. So, the first thing that stood out to me when I opened my All-Star was, oh, this pen is bigger. It is a bigger pen. Height-wise or length-wise, it's not different, I don't think. Huh, Safari might be ever so slightly longer. Hardly noticeable though. But what's interesting is that the All-Star is much thicker. So you've got about a millimeter or so there. Sorry, it's getting a little fuzzy on me. There we go. A millimeter or so there. And with the caps, you've got maybe 2 millimeters of extra width for the All-Star. And once you notice that, it does make these pens look different, like just their profile is different. And I think the thickness of the All-Star kind of adds to its distinguished look. It looks more substantial to me. So yeah, that was something that surprised me. It's extra noticeable when you look at the top here. You can just see all that extra material around the finial as opposed to the Safari. So that's the neutral difference. Let's talk about the bad difference here. One thing you'll notice with these clips is how this one kind of comes out of the pen more and then swoops back down. This is more flat, and I actually can't remember how the All-Star came in the package. I don't know if it was like this or like that. Do you see that? It is a wobbly clip. It comes in and out. It's not going to completely come out, but it has a lot of give there, which makes it feel kind of loose. It can rattle around a little bit. I mean, not too much when you're shaking it, but just you can move it with your fingers, which might be pretty annoying to you. It was annoying to me at first. Actually, I thought there was something really wrong with mine at first. I contacted the company that I bought it from, and they were like, whoa, yeah, it's not supposed to be doing that. And everybody online was like, whoa, it's not supposed to be doing that. So they sent me a new one, exactly the same problem. And I've seen a YouTube video that shows you how to fix that problem. The only problem with the fix of the problem is that you basically have to like take your pen apart in a way that breaks it and then like super glue the clip. So like you put it back together and it looks fine and it functions well, but that would just weird me out knowing that I like had a broken pen. So I think, this is my guess, I think the problem with this clip is that they put it in a wider pen, but it's the exact same clip. I don't sense any difference in size of the clip, even though the pen size is different. So I don't know. I feel like that's just a design oversight. I'm a little disappointed in Lamy for not making a better clip for this more expensive pen, but I've gotten used to it. It doesn't bug me that much. The only downside is that it doesn't fit as snugly in like a shirt pocket or something, though it could be an advantage if you want to put it on something thicker like a backpack or purse or something. It might make it a little more flexible for that. But if you put it on thin material, it might not be quite as secure. But I don't know, most of the time I don't even notice it, but that is a difference. And I don't know, maybe not every All-Star has that, but both of the All-Stars I've used have had that problem. So that's the bad difference. The good difference, this was really surprising to me. So let me pull out a couple other Safaris here. Well, all 4 of them, I guess. So the cap closure, pretty secure on that one. And that one. Those are my newest ones, which is probably why they're more secure. These last 2 are a little more broken in. Yeah, so a little broken in. They still work just fine. No problems. But this one, it's just stiffer. It has a more satisfying click. You can probably hear that, as opposed to I think you can probably hear that. Anyway, so that is really nice. I like how the All-Star has a much more secure closure. As it's broken in, I feel like it's become a little bit more like the Safaris, but it's still a stiffer closure that gives me a little more confidence than the Safaris do. I actually had this clipped to my jean pocket, I don't know, a year ago, and without me knowing, pop, and all of the ink leaked out in my jean pocket. So I don't feel like I would have the same problem with this one. Though, because of the finish, the anodized finish, I probably wouldn't have it in my pocket too much because I don't want to scratch it. Anyway, one way or another, I think that the more secure closure is an advantage of the All-Star. So that just about covers it for the differences and similarities of the All-Star and the Safari. Both are great pens. I've enjoyed them both for different reasons. I could see myself getting another Safari. I could see myself getting another All-Star. But at this point, I think I would be more leaning toward this one. Maybe just because I only have one of them in my collection, but also it glows. It has that distinguished look. It looks fancy. It has that nice cap closure. It's nice. I'm curious to know what you all think. Are you team Safari, team All-Star? Let me know in the comments, and I will gladly see you later. Bye-bye.